Sooner fans, Longhorn Nation, welcome to episode 107 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, I was at the Players Championship, TPC Sawgrass, Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, yesterday, Saturday, moving day. And all I could think about was this could be one of the best weekends for sports in the entire year. You've got the Players Championship, you got conference championships. It was so much fun. Saturday's coming around. Scheffler makes birdie. I got to sit at 17, the famous hole. Scheffler makes birdie. McElroy makes birdie. You're seeing balls go in the water. McElroy looks like the cock of the walk out there, walking around strutting. He's got a strut. You know, if you're not watching this on YouTube, this is me strutting like Roy McElroy. It's fantastic. It's so much fun. The weather was amazing. It's a little hot, but it's Florida. It was amazing. The Friday before, I got to play a little golf with my brother in Orlando, which was great. Probably the first 18-hole round I've ever played with my brother, just me and him. We had a great time. That night, we watched more conference championship games and just enjoy. It was amazing. Then I fly home. I get home in time to turn the golf on. Scheffler, University of Texas grad. I was a little conflicted. Yes, I was a little conflicted, but I have to admit I like the guy. I just like the guy. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And
he's hard not to like.
He's hard not to like.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's got an edge to him, dude. Listen, I love the guy. He went out and shot 64, bro. And he could have shot 60. He missed 4 putts he should have made. He was fantastic. Then Wyndham Clark has a putt to tie. Did you see this putt?
I did not. I missed it.
He's got a putt to tie. 3 dudes had putts to tie. Brian Harmon missed. Xander Schauffele missed. It came down to Wyndham Clark with a putt to tie. Dude, I have never seen a worse lip out in a situation like that in the history of golf. This thing hit the back of the cup. It stopped. It thought about it and popped right back out at him.
No. Anyway, what a nightmare.
In the meantime, I've got the selection committee. I got it taped. And I'm like, this is going to be perfect. This will be perfect. I just watched a great golf tournament, experienced a great weekend of sports. I'm going to settle in with the family. My daughters are like, Dad, is Oklahoma getting in? I'm like, everything indicates they're getting in. I checked Twitter all day today. Everything indicates they're the last 4 in. They're a 10 seed. My question is, are they going to be in the playing games or not? Whatever. Listen, started at the beginning. We're at the dinner table. My wife made shepherd's pie, right? Because it's,
St. Patty's Day, gotcha.
St. Patty's Day. So a little shepherd's pie. Dude, I was so excited. Everybody was just having fun. My family was in a good mood. And we were all just excited. Every successive bracket that goes by, the tension is ratcheted up higher and higher and higher and higher until they release. I think the last one they released was the South bracket.
I think it was the West bracket.
Was the West bracket and the Nevada
the down there? Yeah, correct.
Once
they announced them, yeah, they are the Nevada Bulldogs. No,
Wolfpack. In a pall, is that right? A pall, Pall, was cast upon my family. All of us. Alice doesn't care. She doesn't care. Okay? She supports me. She supports my fandom, but it doesn't bother her. She was like, what? Marjorie was like, but Dad, they haven't been in it in like 3 years. I'm like, I know. And it was just silent. And I'm left thinking to myself, okay, I got to get ready for the show with Kevin. We're going to have a reaction show. Texas is a 7 seed. Facing off against the winner of Virginia and Colorado State. You're in the Midwest bracket. If you win, you're likely to have a matchup with Tennessee. Who's the coach of Tennessee? It's not still what's his name, is it?
Yeah, former Texas head coach Rick Barnes still
It's
there. At
still
Tennessee.
Rick Barnes.
Rick
Man,
Barnes doing a great job.
It's gonna be a great matchup.
Well, we played them earlier this season. It didn't go great for Texas.
Well, maybe you get them the second time. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. We got plenty of time to talk about Texas because y'all are in, and so we'll come back to Texas. There is no. And so then I'm like, oh, crap. So I'm on their Twitter, and I'm like, well, what is my. I don't even know what I'm thinking. And I think my take is simply this: win more basketball games. We did not win enough basketball games. 20-12, it wasn't good enough. Look at the records of the teams that got in. People want to complain about Virginia. They're 23-10. That's 3 more wins. Nevada, 26-7. 6 more wins. Colorado, 24 wins. We didn't win enough basketball games, Kevin. So I go back. I don't know. This podcast is not going to break down quad 1 and quad 2 and quad 3 and go into net rankings and go into every minute analytic. Okay, Kevin? However, let's just do this very simple statistic. How many teams did Oklahoma beat that was in the tournament? That's in the tournament now?
How many?
1. Beat 1 team.
1.
Back in January. This is the toughest conference in the league. You get a shot every weekend and once a week, 2 times a week to beat a really good team, and you didn't do it. You didn't do it. Now, Virginia, everybody's going to gripe about Virginia, and maybe we should gripe about Virginia. I looked at some of their records. Their losses were terrible. They had some terrible losses. They got destroyed. At least our games were competitive. But, I mean, if your argument is your losses weren't as bad as theirs, I don't want to even hear it, right? I mean, to me, that's weak sauce. At least Virginia beat Florida and Texas A&M. That's 2. We have 1 win. Yeah. 1 win, Kevin. They at least have 2 wins. Texas, you look at their record is not much different than Oklahoma, although head-to-head, Texas has 2-0 on the year. But in addition, Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, 3 wins against teams in the tournament. You were presented with opportunities, and you took advantage of them. So, am I mad at Porter Moser? I'm not mad. I'm not upset at Porter Moser. I like Porter Moser. But my God, Kevin, we have to win basketball games. You have to win basketball games. 20-12, you know what? Any other year. That's what any other year it's good enough. Dude, it's not good enough. Remember the Brent Venables video from 2 years ago? It ain't good enough.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. There's no other rationale. Nothing's going to make you feel better. You were snubbed because we're not a basketball school and Virginia's a basketball school and they're in the ACC. Oh, okay, great. We didn't beat TCU one time. We didn't beat Tech one time. We didn't beat Texas one time. We didn't beat Baylor one time. Those are 4 teams that we can beat. Okay,
I will say this though. I will say this. I think you beat one more tournament team you might have forgot about.
Who?
They beat BYU.
We beat BYU. Okay. There goes my rant. All right. BYU. Whatever.
You beat BYU.
Did you get punished for the non-con? The non-con sucks because when you looked at that schedule preseason, you think, well, this is a pretty good non-conference.
Yeah.
Iowa. Who all did I list in there? Iowa,
USC,
Providence,
Arkansas,
and North Carolina, and Arkansas.
Arkansas as well, but Arkansas ended up being horrible.
Arkansas was terrible. USC was ranked at the time we beat them.
Yeah, they're horrible. They ended up being horrible. One of the worst teams in the Pac-12.
I mean, so you have basically no marquee wins. Who'd you say? We did beat BYU. We did beat BYU. You know what? I should remember that. I was at that BYU game. Look, that's probably the best second half of basketball we played all year. Okay. Then if you take my logic, then maybe we still should have gotten over Virginia. But it doesn't matter, dude. We had chances, Kevin. Yeah. Chances. You had opportunities to win games, and we didn't win them. If you leave it up to the committee, and your last, what was our last 3 games? Loss.
Well, lost to Houston, which you guys played pretty well in that game. Lost by 2 points. Then you beat Cincinnati, not very good, but you beat them at home by 3. But then we talked about
Miracle
this
shot by
being
Dothert.
and then being a must-win game. We felt that it was a must-win game for both teams, and then you lose by 14 to Texas at Austin. And now, I mean, you lose, it's not even close, right? It ended up being 14. At one point, Texas up by 20 in the second half. And then, you go out in the first round of the tournament, losing by 7, and you were down big, right? The TCU.
Yeah, we were down, the TCU game. I'm willing to like overlook the TCU game, the one in the you're down. You don't have Suarez. You don't have Hughley. Suarez, God, he played a great second half of the season. Hate that guy's a senior. But it's during the season we had those opportunities. I guess I just went off on a rant, and we actually have 2 wins, and they've got 2 wins, and our seeds are better than theirs. But I don't even care. I don't even care. We have to win those games, dude. You got those opportunities. I said it from the beginning of the season. Go back to our old episodes. You got to be 500 in conference. Yeah. You got to be 500 in conference. I don't know. It's Virginia. Virginia probably is. I don't care. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Oklahoma as a program, where they're at. I do think Virginia probably gets a little bit of basketball school favoritism, ACC favoritism,
success, national championship recently.
Yep, I think that there's the coach, all that. Do they get the benefit of that? Sure. Oklahoma football has gotten the benefit of the doubt for years in BCS selections and playoff selections and all sorts of stuff, and I think they will continue to get the benefit of the doubt in those selections. But yeah, if you don't win games, it's just, I don't know, dude. It's just frustrating.
Let me ask you this, man. Where do you guys go from here as a program?
I don't know. I think heading into the SEC buys Porter Moser another year.
Okay.
That's my guess. My guess is there's enough change going on right now at the University of Oklahoma. And he did get to 20 wins, and he can speak to some recruiting and things of that nature that I think it buys him some wins. I mean, buys him some time, buys him a year. But, I said this before, dude, you have to expect a minimum expectation has to be to make the tournament.
Yeah.
And we didn't make it. So I'm not advocating for anybody to get fired. That's not what I'm saying. But, and in fact, I'm not. I think he probably deserves one more year. But if they fired him, I wouldn't be like, oh, well, man, he needed. I'm kind of ambivalent right now. It's just, you had these opportunities. You had opportunities to win games. And listen, dude, yes, the Big 12 is very, 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 very tough. I get all of that. But if it wasn't for a miracle shot against Oklahoma State and a miracle shot by Dothert at the end of the Cincinnati game, we might not have beaten those 2 teams. We could be having a way different conversation if J.V. McCollum's shot doesn't go in against Oklahoma State. Mike Boynton probably still has a job if that shot goes in. So I don't know, dude. I'm just pissed at the whole situation. Does that make sense? I'm just pissed.
No,
I had a fantastic weekend, and it's just evaporates because we're not in the tournament.
And I'm looking at Virginia's schedule, right? They beat Florida, like you said. I think they beat. You said they beat Texas A&M.
I have Texas A&M down here. Yep.
And it looks like they also beat North Carolina State, who I believe is in, right? North Carolina State in?
Oh, I can double check, but
they are. They're the 11th seed in the South.
Okay. So my argument is back to being valid because they beat 3 teams. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Clemson got in too. And Clemson is the 6th seed in the West region, and they also beat Clemson.
Oh, so Clemson?
Yeah, looks like they beat Clemson on February 3rd. So
they've got a net 54 ranking.
Wow.
Well, this is B-Ball net. I don't know. Is that where you go? I don't know what the official net ranking is. I'm looking up Oklahoma right now. Oklahoma had a
34, something like that.
No, I got a 46 on this one.
Okay.
So what did I say? 54 for them.
Yeah.
So their net ranking was below Oklahoma's, but I'm going to go with the wins, man. You got quality. I don't know if they're quality wins. I don't know where they rank in the net rankings, but back to my argument, which I think is valid now. Again, 4 wins against tournament teams. Oklahoma had 2, and it's not like we were void of chances. We had chances to win those games. Listen, dude. Baylor is not it's not a powerhouse this year. This is not Baylor from 4, 5, 6 years ago. This is a good Baylor team. It's a good Tech team.
Okay.
It's an okay TCU team. Like, I don't know, TCU made it, right? Yeah, they're a 9. They're a 9 seed. You can't beat. You had 3 chances to beat TCU. Couldn't beat them.
Yeah.
So stop it. Come on. Like, if we're going to sit around and complain, let's beat some teams on our schedule before we start talking about teams we might win in a tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to cuss. I know this is not a cussing show, but I just want to cuss right now. Everybody out there who knows me, just know what I'm really saying. No, imagine me if you're one of the soccer dads or soccer moms that listen to the show, what I say on the sidelines, when I don't even care if a kid's listening. That's what I'm saying right now. And then to top it all off, Scotty freaking Scheffler, Texas Longhorn, wins the Players Championship. And I was rooting for him. And now I feel weird about that, Kevin. I feel really, really weird. Speaking of the University of Texas, I guess, I don't know, not good news for me, but good news for you. Y'all do make it in the tournament safely, as it were, 7 seed. You haven't had the chance to even, I think, digest this yet, but thoughts on the season, thoughts on being a 7 seed, Rodney Terry standing, within the program again. Just kind of give us some feedback where y'all are at.
Yeah, well, glad to be in, right? I was expecting them to be an 8 or a 9 seed, so to get a 7 seed, that's a huge bonus. But, this bracket that we're in is pretty tough, right? And I mentioned Tennessee. We actually played them last year, not this year. That's a good team, man. But, I mean, if we can get by this Virginia or Colorado State matchup that we'll have on Thursday, looking at a second-round game against the University of Tennessee, I think Rick Barnes has done a great job. That'll be a tough matchup for Texas if they get there. But as far as the season goes, man, it's just been one of ups and downs, right? We talked about this, OU and Texas basketball being very similar this season, right? So some wins, some good wins, and some really tough losses, right? I mean, we lost to West Virginia. We lost to UCF at one point. And those are the kind of losses that keep you out of the tournament. But they were able to rebound and get some big wins. Like you mentioned, we beat Texas Tech and Lubbock. We beat Baylor. Beat Oklahoma twice. Beat TCU. So those wins, man, are what enabled us to get to this point and into the tournament. So I'm glad we're in. I'm glad we got a shot, and we'll see what we can do, man. We got some guards. We know Ace Smith is going to show up. He's going to score. My biggest question for Texas is what the heck they're going to get out of Tyrese Hunter, right? He's a guy who went for 30 against OU in that game. Last regular season game, he goes for 30, and then
he went absolutely off. He went
nuts, right?
This is the best game of his. He's a senior. Is that the best game of his career?
He's a junior, I believe. He might be a senior. And,
best game of his career.
His best game in Texas. He started off at Iowa State before he transferred to Texas.
Yeah, no, he did. He had a great. Yeah, I listened to that game on the radio, and
he went nuts, man. But then he follows that up against K-State and has 7 points. So that if we can get consistent play out of him, they can legitimately make the Elite 8.
What's your did your big boy play against K-State in the conference championship?
Yeah, I think he was limited, but I think he only had maybe 12 points, something like that. And he didn't have a great game either.
He's got a 5 days here, or y'all play?
Yeah,
y'all are on a Thursday. Y'all are Thursday. Okay. Man, I love that day.
Oh, it's great. It's like a holiday, man.
It is a holiday. And it's my kids are old enough now too that I don't have to do it. It's spring break, but we're not doing anything. I've already got the day lined up to do absolutely nothing but watch ball all day. And again, that's just another thing, dude. you're just not invited, right? So it's like the old joke about the NIT. I don't know, man. I have a lot of issues tonight. I apologize if I'm rambling, but it's just,
look, man,
God, it just sucks.
But Shaka Smart was our coach. We had that year. We made the NIT. It's like, and then they went and won the damn NIT. Just like,
yeah, it's like, stop.
You don't even get excited about winning the NIT.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know why. It annoyed me that they won it. You should never be annoyed by your team winning, but still.
All right,
NIT, man.
Just real quick, let's just talk about this bracket real fast, okay? Let's just talk about this bracket
for those who are watching on YouTube. So give me a second.
Yeah, I've got it printed out in front of me now. I haven't done a deep dive, and I definitely don't have my picks, but I just want to get a feel. I just kind of want your feel on this bracket situation. The big names in the first 4 games, which I love the first 4 games. When those were first introduced, I thought, man, this is so stupid that they've added 4 teams. What was I thinking, dude? More basketball is better. Like, it was great when they added those 4 games.
Agreed. Yeah, those playing games have been a lot of fun.
They're so much fun, and they seem to be always close. They match up. The matchups are usually really, really good. I love the energy, and it's great. And to give a team like, I'm looking at like Howard and Wagner, to give them an opportunity to get a win in the NCAA tournament.
Correct.
I mean,
it's awesome, man.
Look, we've had a 16 beat a 1, but it's like once and ever. But to have 2 16s battle each other and potentially get a win, pretty fun. All right. But anyway, let's talk about the teams we do know about.
Brackets on the screen here, too, if you want to.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, let's start in the East. Your 1 seed's UConn, 2 seeds Iowa State, 3 is Illinois, and 4 is Auburn. Without getting too deep into this bracket, is there anybody that you really, really like outside of UConn that could make a run?
I mean, Iowa State, man, being in this conference, we've seen what they can do, and they're going to be battle tested, right? I know it's easy to pick the team, but
Well, they can play defense. Here's the deal: Iowa State can absolutely play defense. What you wonder is, can they keep the offensive momentum going against some of these teams? But as far as locking them down, they're really, really good defensively. I look at BYU in the 6th seed. If they get hot from 3-point, they can beat anybody in the country. If they have a really, really good shooting night. But we saw them against Oklahoma. We talked about that game. We saw them against Oklahoma. And if they go cold, they don't really have anything, to back that up.
Yeah, there's no counter.
Yeah, there's no big guy like Texas. At least you got Dessou you can dump it into if you want to make an adjustment. UConn, a number 1 overall seed, I heard today, has not won the tournament since 2013.
Okay, now let me ask you. So UConn is the overall number 1 seed over Houston. Is that correct? I haven't heard. I didn't hear. I didn't see.
I think that's what they said.
Okay.
I think that's what they said on the show. Yeah,
gotcha.
I think that's what they said on the show. That's what I was led to believe. And that's what, when I was listening to some a breakdown earlier today, they were talking about the fact that UConn is your number 1 seed, and that a number 1 seed has an overall number 1 seed, and an overall number 1 seed has not won since 2013.
Gotcha. Also, Florida Atlantic. Remember, they made the Final Four last year.
Oh, that's right.
So, I mean, battle tested. We talked about that. Clearly, they've got guys on that team who know how to win in the tournament. Same with San Diego State, who was also in the Final Four last year.
I don't know much about Illinois. I haven't watched nearly enough Big Ten basketball to give a good answer on them. It would be cool to see Yale pull the upset. I think I would. You always can kind of expect a 13 to beat a 4. I'd love that. Remind me, who's the team who got? I don't want to jump around too much, but is it Long Beach State? Is that the guy who got fired?
Yeah, they mutually agreed to part ways on Monday. Then they go out and win their conference tournament. They're in the big dance. Yeah.
So go down to the West. Long Beach State is in the West. And they're going to open up against Arizona. That's such a great story. I can't, obviously it's a long shot for him to get a win, but that would just be fantastic. The number 1 seed in that bracket is North Carolina. Oklahoma has seen them. I actually thought they hung with North Carolina really well at the beginning of the season.
I thought so too. I watched that game.
2 seed is, again, Arizona. 3 seed Baylor. 4 seed Alabama. Any other teams of note in there?
I mean,
Grand
Michigan
Canyon.
State as a 9, right, with their experience. I don't think they're very good, but it is Tom Izzo in the tournament. You just never know. They can go on a run.
I think Michigan State athletics are doomed. I think that they
All
are.
around.
I think they're cursed. I think that the stuff that and I'm not, just not a joke. I think the stuff that they let happen under their watch with the gymnasts and all that stuff, I think is pervading that program, like the entire thing. I think that's what's hurt them with Mel Tucker. I don't know. I would not want to be a Michigan State fan right now. I don't feel good about that school. But you say that about Izzo. When's the last time Izzo made a deep run?
I couldn't tell you, man.
That's the thing. Like you think he does, but I can't remember the last time they made a deep run. Does he have a national championship?
Yeah, he has at least one. He won that one with 20 years ago. Probably more than that. Was it Mateen Cleaves?
With Mateen, yep.
And
But Jason Richardson
Richardson.
Yeah, Jason Richardson was on that team. So they won it in 2024. Oh, it's hard to believe. My God. 09 runner-up. Dude, he made it. What am I talking about? People are going to be yelling at us, Kevin. He was a Final Four in 2009, 10, 15, and 19. Yeah, he can coach.
Yeah, I remember Texas, the year Texas made the Final Four back in 2003, and they beat Michigan State in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four that year.
Oklahoma lost in 09 to get to, they lost, in 09 to Michigan State in the Elite Eight.
Okay, that's when you guys had Blake Griffin, right?
Yeah, that was the Blake Griffin year, and we lost to Michigan State.
Unbelievable player he was, Blake Griffin.
I still want to make the argument. I think Michigan State might be cursed, but if I look at this, I don't think North Carolina's 27-7. That is not your typical number one North Carolina seed.
No, it's not your typical number one seed. Period.
No, shy of 30 wins, 7 losses. They just don't put a lot of fear in you. But you look at this particular bracket. I mean, Arizona at 25-8 is not a typical 2 seed either. You know, it's This is the West bracket to me. Again, first glance, feel free to
wide open, right?
Yeah, feel free to share in the comments. But it seems I'm underwhelmed by the West bracket. All right, sliding over to the Midwest, Kevin. Purdue, the 1 seed. Purdue has been very, very good all year. Now did Nebraska beat them? Who'd they lose to in their conference championship game?
It was somebody like that who shouldn't have beat them.
Purdue, Tennessee's the 2 seed. Let's see here.
Kansas, the 4 seed. It's interesting.
Yep, and Creighton the 3 seed. Yeah, that's the thing with Kansas, man. They've been hurt. They have been banged up, and we know a wounded Kansas team might not be that great, but a full strength Kansas team, if they're back at full strength, that could be somebody to watch out for. They're going to have to go through, it looks like, potentially Gonzaga. Gonzaga's not who they've been. They can get through Gonzaga. And then potentially have a meeting against Purdue in the Sweet 16. Listen, dude, I wouldn't bet against Kansas. I hate Kansas, and I wouldn't bet against Kansas.
Same. Yeah, same here.
I like Kansas there. That's y'all's bracket. Y'all would have potential matchups against Tennessee, South Carolina, and Creighton would be your Sweet 16. If you were able to get past Tennessee, it'd be your Sweet 16 matchups.
I think it's a pretty fun region here.
What's crazy? Look at Oregon at 23-11 as an 11 seed. Again, not knowing enough. I don't think the Pac-12 has been particularly good this year, but I don't know. Oregon's just one of those teams that Dana Altman's still coaching there.
I believe so.
He knows how to coach.
He does.
He knows how to coach. That's a team that you'd probably want to shy away from. I think if you're looking for somebody to pick those upsets, I don't know if they're coming out there. Utah State's a fun team. They play some good ball there. They always have. All right, up in the South, Houston, I think, is the number 2 overall seed. Marquette. What do you think about Marquette being there?
They've done a really good job there. Shaka Smart, one of his better coaching jobs he's had in a few years. So I don't know. They played against Texas earlier this year, and they put it to us pretty good. I think they beat us by 19. So it's another fun one. I'm looking forward to this. I want to see what Florida can do. Playing against the Boise State, Colorado winner. I've seen them play a couple of times. They're a fun team to watch. And in Nebraska, 8-9 is a fun one as well.
Look at your 3 and 4 seeds, though, dude. How about Kentucky and Duke? Your 3 and 4 seeds in that bracket. Any other year, you're going, my God, Duke and Kentucky coming out of the same bracket.
Yeah, you're just waiting on when they're going to play each other.
They would not meet each other until the Elite 8.
Yeah.
So that my buddy, shout out to Ryan Driggers if you're listening. He played for Vermont. He was a Vermont Catamount. Never made the tournament.
Also, Texas Tech and NC State. I want to see, what can they do? Can they take care of NC State, and can they hang against Kentucky in the second round if they get there?
We talked about the West, and you called it wide open. I called it. You look at the South. I think this South bracket is loaded. I think this South bracket is the bracket to beat right here. And maybe it's just name heavy. Maybe I'm seduced by the Duke and Kentucky's in there. But I just think Houston and Marquette are really, really good. And then to back it up with the Duke and Kentucky. I mean, when Texas Tech is your 6 seed, Wisconsin at your 5, I don't know, man. I think that's a pretty good bracket.
Yeah, and I really like Houston in this one, though, man.
Are you going to pick Houston to go to the championship game?
I think so, man. It's too early. I haven't filled out a bracket yet, but I really like them. I've seen them play probably more than any team besides, Texas and Oklahoma this year. And every time I watch them, I'm impressed.
Well, now that Oklahoma's out, I'm absolutely rooting for Houston. I'm going to root for Houston. I'm going to root for Kelvin Sampson. I like what he's done since leaving Oklahoma. And he's proven he can coach. And it would be really, really cool to see him win. And shout out to our friend Zach Selman at Mississippi State for being an athletic director in his first year and his team making it to the NCAA tournament as a 8 seed. Yeah, 8 seed. I tell you what, Oklahoma would like an 8 seed. It would take an 8 seed. All right. Let's shift gears, Kevin. Let's talk about some football-related items just for a quick minute. What do you think about Baker Mayfield getting?
Baker Mayfield, huh?
You like that? I know this is a little late. We're kind of like a week off on this, but that's okay. This is a deep cut. We're 34 minutes in. You and I haven't had a chance to talk about it. I think he deserves every dime. I think this is a great move by the Buccaneers. I think they had to do Mike Evans first. I think it shows that their priorities are right. I think Mike Evans is a more valuable player to their franchise, just in terms of his playmaking ability and things of that nature. But I just like I like the makeup of both of these signees, and I think they're in really good shape.
Yeah, as far as Baker goes, good for him. I think he's really shown his maturity, right? He's always had talent and ability. Sometimes, his personality can rub people the wrong way, but I think you haven't heard any of that. He's played well. And no, he's done a good job. Took him to the playoffs. Things seem to be going well for them in Tampa. So I think they kind of went and laid it all out there. And they said, this is our best way. This is the best opportunity to win, to continue to win. So good for them. Good for Baker getting a second contract. And we'll see what they can do next year. That division, again, like always, seems to be wide open.
I guess my only question is, now that we have the Justin Fields news that broke late last night, that he has been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 6th-round pick that and then I guess conditioned upon playing time could be bumped to a 4th-round pick. Is it possible the Buccaneers paid too much for him now, knowing that Justin Fields is only worth a 6th-round pick?
Maybe so, but this is how the quarterback market goes, right? These guys make crazy money. And it's kind of sometimes I think it's a little better to sign those short, 2, 3 year deals like that.
Oh, I totally
Right? Look at
agree.
Kirk Cousins. He has finessed the league for almost a decade now,
Yeah,
right?
why
Signing
not?
these 2 year, $50 million fully guaranteed contracts. You continue to bet on yourself. I mean, and we have to remember, what is he, 30? How old is Kirk? He's in his mid-30s, right?
Yeah, yep.
And he's coming off an Achilles tear. And he still signed that huge contract with the Falcons. So it just seems like this is a market for quarterbacks, man. These dudes make crazy
No,
money.
okay. You say it's a market for quarterbacks. So what happened to Justin Fields? How
I
does he
have no
fall to
idea, man.
how does he
The
fall to a
league,
6-round pick to get picked up by a team that already just signed a quarterback?
look, I'm a big fan of Justin Fields. You know that. I still believe in his
Why?
talent.
Okay, let's stop. Why? Why are we a fan of Justin Fields? Haven't you seen enough to know that he's not any good?
I don't because he plays in Chicago.
Well, that's fair. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I actually agree with
yeah,
you. That was kind of being tongue in cheek when I asked you the question because
yeah.
how do we not know it's just the Bears? How do we not know the Bears
Correct,
just really, really suck?
correct. Yeah, I need to see more. I'm not saying I'm all the way in, right? But I need to see more.
I think
Sometimes you can be out on the guy right away, but it's not like that with him.
do you think what in your mind is the Justin Fields dynamic going to look like in year one? What do you anticipate seeing?
I don't know. I honestly, I think they should make that an open quarterback competition. I think the dumbest thing they can do is name a starter because I don't think either guy has done anything over the other one to deserve to be named the starter right now,
Yeah.
right? Russ, is he cooked? Right? It was a bit of a struggle. He doesn't have that mobility that he used to have, and that's what his best attribute was, being able to get outside of the pocket and make throws on the run. He really can't do that the way he used to be. And Fields is still developing, right? He's had a bunch of different offensive coordinators while he was in Chicago, up and down talent at the skill positions. He looked good at the end of last year when he finally had a number one DJ Moore to throw the ball to, right? So I want to see how that works. I think they need to make this an open competition, and whoever wins gets, should be the starter.
Okay. So this leads us into then the NFL draft. So obviously Caleb Williams is going to the Bears. Is this a bad omen for the beginning of the Caleb Williams experiment in the NFL that he has to
You
go play for the
know,
Bears? If and again, I'm using your argument for you. So you're saying Justin Fields has talent, he just wasn't developed. A large reason could be put on the Bears, the organization, the way they've approached it. Now you're putting in one of the most coveted draft picks in the last 10 years. I mean,
probably, yeah.
do you I mean, what do you see a Kyler Murray like career for him at Arizona, which has been lackluster, or do you see Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City and he lights the league on fire?
I want to see, right? Like, what's their system going to look like with him? Are they going to coach to what he does great? And what are they going to do? What kind of team are they going to bring in around him? They signed Keenan Allen yesterday as well, which I think is a good pickup. Obviously, he's getting older and he's had a lot of injury issues, but when he's healthy, he is still very productive, potential number one wide receiver. So that'll help. And so I want to see what they do at running back, and I want to see how the offensive line looks before.
Well,
But
I
I
mean,
love Caleb, and I love his
but
talent. Go ahead.
I think you'll agree though that some of the things that Caleb Williams does best, he won't be able to do those in the NFL. Like he can't run around.
Not at the consistency that he did it, not with the frequency he did it at USC and at Oklahoma. No way.
I mean, Lamar Jackson could run around because he had elite speed. Kyler Murray could run around because he had elite speed. Those two still, could do those things. Caleb Williams wasn't the fastest guy. He was very mobile, had great escapability, eyes in the back of his head, all of those things. Listen, I saw it live. I love it when he was a Sooner. Like I'm not going to take that away from him, but he can't do that. I mean, the defensive ends are as fast as he is in the league.
Yeah, but he can't do that run around to one sideline and run back to the other sideline, throw it 50 yards down the field. but he can escape like Patrick Mahomes does. Mahomes is really hard to sack, and it seems like you've got him. He can still escape while looking downfield and make accurate throws down the field. And that, to me, that's what separates Mahomes from most of the other quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And for me, he can do that.
OU Pro Day, biggest story line out of that was how Drake Stoops looked. Texas fan on Twitter, speaking of the Boomer Bevo podcast, Texas fan on Twitter was not impressed with Drake Stoops' 40 time. I think it was like a 4.6. There were a lot of slow dude memes and slow white boy memes. And let me ask you, where were those comments during the final drive of the Red River Shootout this year?
Well, again, his game is not predicated on speed. His game is predicated on the ability to get open. So, I mean, look, the 40 was a little slower than I even thought it would be, personally. I'm not trying to clown the dude for it, right? Because he can play. And my thought was he should have ran the 40 going across the middle of the field.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right? Running like a crossing route. And he'd have been fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So, yeah, it's just like whatever he was running, we couldn't cover him on that last drive. We just completely cut him loose.
I just look, I've been wrong before. I thought OU was going to get in the bracket this year. So I've been wrong. There's been plenty of times I've been wrong on this podcast. I just think he's a good football player. Like I don't know.
I mean,
we've seen what he can
being a football player.
Yeah.
You can't doubt the fact that he's a good football player. You just got to impress one team, man. You just got to get into camp. I don't know if he's going to get drafted or not. I have no idea. Right? It doesn't matter. You just got to get. He'll be on a camp. He'll be on a training camp this fall. He just got to impress the team. Just get there and do what you do, man. Wes Welker didn't run a good 40 either.
On other things that we're a little late on, but I have to get your thoughts. Again, we just didn't have a chance to talk last week. Nick Saban came out, talked about how NILs basically ruined football and it's never going to be the same, and he's the reason he left. He's the greatest coach of all time. He's an historic figure in the game. He's the grandfather of college football right now, if you want. I don't know, whatever term you want to use to describe him. How much of that is the game has passed him by, and how much of those are very real concerns that have to be addressed in order for college football to survive and thrive?
Well, I understand a little bit of what he's saying, but I do think it's hypocritical, right? This is the guy who has made, $50+ million, probably way more than that, on coaching these athletes. I think athletes deserve to be paid, right? But right now, NIL in its current form, it's a little bit out of control. I'm not even talking about the amounts, just the way it's become a pay-for-play system, right? Which it was never designed to be. It was just designed for players to be able to profit on their own name, image, and likeness. If you want to sell your T-shirts with your name on them for $20, go ahead, right? That's what it was really meant to be. It's become more of a pay-for-play. So I get the fact that it's a bit out of control, but players do deserve to get paid. Alabama players, since Nick Saban has been there, I've seen these players' cars, right? These guys were driving Dodge Chargers tricked out with rims, sound systems, intent since 2010, right? And it's not just a couple of players, it's most of the team. So Alabama players have been getting money for a very long time. So part of me is like, are you just upset now that everybody can get paid and not just your guys? So it evens the playing field, and you don't like that. So I get what he's saying, but I feel like it was a bit hypocritical coming from someone like him.
I don't think it's a bit hypocritical. I think it is hypocritical. I think that it is it's quite the deal that his contract was routinely $10 million a year for the last 15 years. That's $150 million. And that's not even talking about his staff that was making, I don't know what Sark made when he was the assistant coach there, but probably north of $1 million.
I'd imagine so.
those dudes got paid. Like, I think it is out of control. I don't like the way it is. I don't know necessarily how you fix it, except to say slotting either players or slotting to, putting a salary cap or whatever. I think that there's some ways to do it. And salary cap sounds weird because that makes them employees, but whatever. At this point, maybe they are. But for him to say it just, I don't know, dude. It just kind of sounds insincere. It really does. It kind of sounds like he's hearkening back to the 1950s when everybody lived in a white picket fence. And it's like that. Okay, number one, everybody got paid back then too. I got a book back here. I don't know where it's at. I let somebody borrow it. The Undefeated, the same dude that wrote the Junction Boys on A&M, wrote Undefeated for Oklahoma, talking about the 47-game winning streak. He was talking about what happened when all the GIs came back from the war in the late 40s. Okay. And how specifically at Oklahoma, these guys came back and were like, hey, we're like married. Like, we've been to war. We're married. We got kids. We're on the GI Bill. Like, we need something else or we're not coming to play ball here. And they were figuring out how to pay those guys in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and Marcus Dupree in the 80s and Brian Bosworth in the 80s. And dude, Ricky Williams was getting his pot money in the 90s. Like, stop it. They've been getting paid.
Yeah.
It is a bit it is insane, out of control. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be addressed and all those things, but I thought,
coming from him, it's like, come on,
it's a little rich.
Yeah, exactly. You've made hundreds of millions of dollars off these kids. Come on, man. Stop it. And it's not like Bama was falling apart, right? Like, there's still every recruiting class for him, even after NIL, still number one, number two.
Hey, Kevin, how about this? How about he runs a better play on fourth down and they're in the national championship game?
Correct.
And probably beat Washington based on how we saw Washington play.
Correct.
Like, run a better play. That was a terrible down.
It was
terrible fourth down play.
Yeah.
Well, it was one of the worst fourth down plays I've ever seen in a situation like that. It was terrible. It was fourth down, or were they going for two? It's fourth down, right?
I think it's more than goal, something like that. Yeah.
Awful.
In overtime. Yeah.
Awful. So anyway, whatever. I just had to get your thoughts on it because I know you always stand up for the NIL deal, and I usually push back. And I do think that there needs to be some. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit out of control right now. But to say that it shouldn't exist or something like that, come on. Like, come on, man. You've made too much money, and there's too much money being made by everybody else. There's billions of dollars here. We're not talking like, and we're showing up to watch the players every week. We all support our teams, but we get excited to watch certain players. It's the players that we're coming to watch.
Yeah, and the market has a demand for it. And if the market demand wasn't there, then they wouldn't make nobody. You're not hearing this with volleyball players because there's not a market demand for it, right? There's a market demand for football players.
Correct.
And NIL collectives are willing to pony up and pay for football players. So that means the money is there, right?
Correct.
It's not costing anybody anything because people are willingly giving it. So it's again, what I don't love the families and the hanger-ons and the wannabe agents and the real agents and all the ancillary voices. And again, you have to have a support system. And I think, but sometimes that support system becomes kind of caustic in a way.
Yeah, and these supports, sometimes your supports, they have their own interests in mind, not necessarily yours. How can I most benefit on this? This is a golden ticket. We got one shot at this. I'm going to make as much money off this kid as I possibly can. And I can.
It's that kind of stuff that makes me incredibly uncomfortable. Like I don't like any of that. But again, that's always been there, Kevin, right? I mean, we've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, just watch the Marcus Dupree 30 for 30, right?
Watch the Marcus Dupree. Watch anything with Cam Newton. I mean, it's just, this stuff's been around. Like, I think you bring up a really good point that now that schools are uninhibited and untethered to any sort of qualms about it, that they can compete. And now you do have now Missouri can legitimately compete with Oklahoma for a recruit.
Correct.
The same thing with Alabama.
And it seems like that's what he didn't like. That's what he had the issue with.
Yeah.
Well, we've heard him complain about things over the years that didn't help him. Remember when when Texas A&M went to the SEC and they brought the air raid up-tempo offense with them? He complained about that. It's just like, you can't play your 270-pound linebackers anymore. These guys can't cover slot receivers in space. So you got to switch up. And he did, right? And they kept winning. But again, he complained about that too. So he seems to complain a lot when things aren't going his way, despite being the GOAT. You're the greatest coach of all time, man.
Look, I know that guys that are like that think differently than us. There is a reason why he is who he is, because his brain functions in a different wave than yours and I do. And so if you have to create narratives in your brain in order for you to compete, then so be it. That's fine. This is one of those, yes, there's problems with NIL, but come on, dude.
Speaking in front of committees and saying this, like, come on, man, what are you doing?
Stop it.
Yeah.
Kevin, I don't know if I can go on with this podcast if Oklahoma's going to keep sucking at sports. I'll tell you what we're good at. We're really good at softball. Did you see this? We scored 12 runs before we had an out. Or no, I take it back. We batted through the order before we had an out against Texas Tech in softball. Yeah, Oklahoma baseball swept the series against TCU. Oklahoma gymnastics set another record, a scoring record, this time against the University of Alabama, who is no slouch of a program. We're doing just fine in other sports. But my God, basketball right now, it's just so, and the girls' basketball team's good too. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I hate having to sit through another freaking March Madness and Oklahoma not even sniffing it. It just, I can't stand it.
Speaking of women's college basketball.
All right, I'm ready.
There are more stars in women's college basketball than men's right now. We talked about the entire bracket. We went through each region
and couldn't name a player.
We didn't mention one player. We didn't mention one. I mentioned Max Asmus from the guys from Texas.
Yeah,
they're no stars, man.
No, we mentioned coaches. We mentioned Izzo and Kelvin Sampson, and
you could have Shaka Smart, but that's because he was at Texas. You
could have thrown Hurley. You could have thrown Hurley in there for kind of being a tool, and all these kind of things. But yeah, no, you're right. I agree. I think that I still contend a lot of it has to do with that the best players stay for 4 years.
Yeah.
So that's it creates stars. It creates name recognition. Caitlin Clark's been there forever. I also think that ESPN is doing a good job marketing the game, whether you agree with it or not, whether you support women's basketball or not. ESPN is marketing the game effectively, and I think that's creating it. Also, listen, dude, the characters on the coaches' sides, I mean, Kim Mulkey is insane. That lady is freaking nuts. But with her at LSU, it's like you always needed the narrative, right? So the narrative is they're the bad girls, right? That's the Detroit Pistons right now of women's college basketball, and they own it. What's the girl's name?
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese. I mean, she owns it, dude. Her
a villain. Yeah, she's a villain. They're villains, basically.
And I don't like Don Staley at South Carolina. I'm not a big Don Staley fan.
Okay. Well, see, you have an opinion.
I do have an opinion.
This is great. You have an opinion about her.
Yes. And it's
I don't know anything about these coaches now.
And it's founded in something.
Basketball.
100%. I don't like the way she treated BYU. I got family ties to BYU, and they talked about them being racist. And I'm like, I know BYU. I've been to BYU games. They're not. It's not. Yeah. And so it makes me mad. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is, you're right. You've got characters. And now, like, I look at Oklahoma, and there are Baranchek's a character. The coach at Texas is a character. That guy's nuts.
Yes, he is. You see, yes. There's nothing like that. And Calipari, he can be like that. But we've known about Calipari for so long.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter when he's a 4 seed.
Correct.
If he's not winning, Listen,
And
you
we
don't
don't want
have
to sound like the old guys, right? In the room,
but
but
you don't got Bobby
man,
Knight anymore.
you don't have Bobby Knight. You don't have Coach K in the early days, or you don't, even players. You don't have the Fab Five, right? You
Oh
don't
no,
have the Duke team. You don't have UNLV. Those
nope. You
type of
don't have
guys.
you, you,
Even Allen Iverson in the mid-90s. There's
you don't
no,
have the early 2000 Duke teams with Elton
yeah,
Brand and Jay Williams and all those guys. I mean, look, you
yeah,
don't even. We talked about it with the last time. The last time a true one and done team won was in 2013, and that was Anthony Davis. I can remember Anthony
yeah,
Davis, but
yeah. That team was
as
ridiculous. So
as
that
far
Carter
as
out
far as
too.
true one and done guys, Embiid didn't win with Kansas, did he?
No, he was hardly playing. He was hurt.
Yeah. And Zion made it to the
They
Elite
made it to the
Eight.
Elite Eight. They made it to the Elite Eight, and they were fun to watch,
Oh,
right?
they
But
were. He was great. He was a heck of a
you don't
coach.
even have that right now.
Nope,
You
you're
know?
right. But I will say you'll see some really good basketball, and we'll know some names here.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Yeah, we'll see good basketball, and it'll be great teams. And there's always that one Cinderella team that captures your heart. You know.
Here's the problem,
They,
dude. Caitlin Clark flops a lot.
okay, yeah,
Come
yeah.
on,
But
it's a
again,
bit.
that's
It's
something you
obnoxious.
can use to hate her or dislike her game. You can
I'll
say,
give
"Oh,
you
she's
a
good,
guy.
but she flops a lot."
I'll give you somebody. Filipowski from Duke tripped a guy, and I was like
That's true.
I was having like flashbacks to the
You get Leitner vibes
no, not
or
Leitner. He
Grayson
plays
Allen.
Grayson Allen plays for the Suns right now.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, what was that guy doing? You know,
I don't know. He's done it multiple. Yeah, Philip. What do you think of him, man? You think he's good?
well, I think he's a lottery pick, whether they think he's good or
Yeah,
not. I
yeah.
don't know. He's fine. He's. I would take a guy from Europe over him every day of the week, and I don't even
Same.
I don't know one dude from
Yeah.
Europe, but
I
I
mean,
guarantee
Cooper
you they're better
Flag
back.
next year. They got the Cooper Flag kid coming in. Duke does, and he's a top player, and he's a lottery pick. He'd probably be the number one pick this year if he came straight out of high school. So
Oh really?
looking forward to him next year. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah,
Well,
it's just like the women's game. You got, like you said, you mentioned South Carolina. South Carolina, LSU, and at least Iowa
you got to
from a
admit though,
personality standpoint.
Kim Mulkey is the biggest personality in college basketball right
Oh,
now.
by far. And she's
Period.
great for the game. You can say, so I don't like Kim Mulkey. You can say that.
Dude, you
Who
should
do you
say
dislike?
that. Anybody that says they like Kim Mulkey's insane.
Yeah, who do you dislike from men's college basketball besides your rival head coach?
Hurley from UConn's making a pretty good run at it though.
Okay,
He's kind of a dick.
yeah.
He got thrown out of a game. Come on, man. Coach your team. Coach your team, dude.
Well,
Stop
hey, be
worried
a
about who's in
jerk,
the
man.
stands.
We need somebody who can come out and say something ridiculous. We could be like, what did he say?
Well, in Oklahoma and Texas, we're going to miss out on Bill Self. There's got to be some coaches in the SEC we can't stand.
I hope so.
Certainly.
So. And honestly, man, we don't hate Bill Self because of anything he's ever said, because his team is always good.
That's correct.
And they always find ways to win no matter what.
We hate him because we ain't him. You know,
yes.
he was so good.
Yeah.
He is good. He's a good coach, but I never liked him. He was cocky and arrogant, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not big. I am a Porter Moser fan. You know, are you a Rodney Terry fan? Do you?
I like him. Yeah, I do like him.
Yeah. I like our guys, and that's fine. I really do.
Yeah, it was like
I hated Chris Beard.
He's like the most likable coach we've ever had.
I loved it when you had Chris Beard. I hated that guy.
He's a guy that's easy to hate, and I completely understand. You can be like, "Oh, Chris Beard, I hate that guy." I'm like, "Yeah, I hate him too. I hated him at Texas Tech."
Shaka reminded me of when y'all had Charlie Strong. Like he comes in, you're like, I don't like this guy. Like, feels weird. Just feels odd. I like what he's about. But neither one of them lived up to the billing that they never even got in a position that Oklahoma needed to hate them because they were never any good.
And he made the tournament, I think, 3 times. Just lost first round every time.
Yeah, well, he should have stayed with the full court press. Is he full court pressing with Marquette? Is he back doing that?
I would imagine he is. I don't know. I'm really curious to watch them in the tournament and see
Well,
if
you
they're
saw him play.
again.
Did you watch the game against Texas? Did he press you?
Yeah, they weren't really full court pressing, but they played really good defense, man. and with their offense look better.
Was he Havoc? Was that it? Was that his deal?
Havoc.
Yeah. All right. I'm excited. I say I'm excited. I'm not excited. I'm pissed off, but that's okay. Congratulations.
For the tournament, you just are pissed that the Sooners aren't in.
Congratulations, University of Texas, for making the tournament. Congratulations, Rodney Terry. Oklahoma, good luck in the NIT. I don't even know what to say. Kevin,
I think you're going to have a new coach next year.
You think so? You think they're going to let him
go? Did you hear about that rumor about him potentially taking the job? What was it, at DePaul or something like that? Was there anything to that? Seems like a big time downgrade. I know he's a Chicago guy.
I don't think.
But you don't leave Oklahoma to go to DePaul. What?
I don't think you leave Oklahoma to go to DePaul. Oklahoma is well, clear. I don't know what it is right now. Okay. Prior to Porter Mosier, I would have said we were a top 25 program, basketball, meaning pay, support, facilities, tradition, all the factors. I would have put us in a top 25 program. Since he's been there, I don't know what it is. We haven't made the tournament in 3 years. So I don't.
Is it just a bad fit, Brad? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. It also coincided.
I think with Shaka Smart, right? It just wasn't. It ended up not being a bad. I mean, it ended up being a bad fit. He can clearly coach, but something just didn't click. It just never worked.
I don't know. I don't know, because I like the guy. I like his. But I don't. There's things I don't like. We go stale offensively. We are really good defensively, but I still don't think the recruiting is hit everywhere it needs to hit. The players, some of them have gotten better as the year gets on. I think of Suarez, Dothard, but others I don't think have gotten better. Like, I don't know that McCollum has gotten better as the year's gone on.
Yeah.
Uzan has not gotten better as the year has gone on. Godwin has. So it's
kind of he's been good.
Who's that?
Moore
has gotten better. So it's kind of been a mixed bag, though, and you need your guards. For me, it's about guard play, and we've talked about that. You talk about Tyrese Hunter. Yeah, okay. But, man, 30 points when he needed it, and that's a big deal, and we're just not seeing that from him. So, again, I said this at the beginning of the episode. We're an hour in, so I don't know if we need to keep talking about it. But if he gets fired, okay, I guess. If he doesn't, okay. I don't know. I mean, going to the SEC, you've got to think you're going to have more exposure with the SEC network. You're going to have more money because you're going to have television money and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be in a pretty prime. You're maintaining a primetime conference. I mean, regardless of where it ranks as a basketball conference, you're adding Oklahoma and Texas to it. I mean, dude, they got plenty of schools in. I haven't counted it up, but it's not. They're not lacking schools in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you're leaving for DePaul. That doesn't even make sense to me. I never thought that was. I kind of just thought that was like some kind of weird rumor, but I don't know. Go to DePaul, I guess. I don't know. You're not costing us tournament wins by leaving. So
yeah,
it's weak. Kevin, have a great night. Enjoy, bask in your Players Championship win with Scotty Scheffler, and bask in getting to the NCAA tournament. No other Texas fan deserves it, but you do, buddy. You deserve it. Have a great night. Boomer!
Hook 'em.